I've seen, Pete, I read it on your website, a bit of your background, and it says that you started coding when you were young, disassembling PCs and stuff like this. So when I was reading that, it sounds to me like one of those biographies that you read or movies that you watch. And I'm sure that it's like a long and exciting story, but can you briefly tell us a bit about yourself when you were younger and tell us some highlights or milestones?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the first thing I'd say is it's not that glamorous of a story. I was just a, 80s baby growing up in Southern Connecticut, which is where I'm from. And I remember when my dad got his income tax check and spent his entire check on buying a computer. And I remember this thing just sitting in our house. And that's when my whole life changed. I was a big video gamer at the time. I was just a kid. And I learned that if I wanted to make video games, I would have had to learn how to code. And if I learned how to code, well, then I'd need to actually have the games have artwork or design or interfaces, so it wouldn't just be black screen, green text or white text. So I did whatever kid back then does. Got my hands on a cracked copy of Adobe Photoshop. Thanks, Adobe. I pay them lots of money now, and really just kind of taught myself how to design, taught myself how to code. Started making video games when I was a kid, and then that's kind of where it began. So not a sexy special story. It was just I spent way too many years playing N64, and I was like, I want to make video games. And as most of us, we follow our curiosity, and that leads to things.
That is true. And what was your idea of your future career back then?
I'll be candid. I didn't have a plan back then. I wanted to be, I wanted to make video games or do something interesting. And then ultimately, after school, I didn't find the thing I was looking for. So I created something myself. And, ultimately, I always just wanted to be in a creative career where I could, you know, make things that people find useful or interesting. And that's what I dedicated most of my life to.
And if I'm not mistaken, you started your business still while at school, right?
I did, yeah. So I had a full time job, and then I managed to convince them to let me use them as a client. So I left as a full time employee. Back then we didn't have side hustles. It was either you had a job or you worked for yourself. It was one or the other. I don't really like binary. I'm an and guy, not an or guy. And yeah, I started my first company, Digital Surgeon, still around to this day. It's a fantastic brand experience firm. We do great design branding. That was my first company. I started that, I think I was 19, and while I was still at University of Connecticut. So when everyone was watching all the cool basketball games and doing all this stuff and we were winning championships, I was just a punk kid sitting in front of two screens rattling away.
And it's impressive that the business is still around. As I had a look as well, it looks great.
Oh,
And
thank you.
since we have audience that are might be still at universities or at school or early in their careers, based on your experience, what will be like advice in if someone is in a similar situation and they are about to start, like, enter professional career and maybe start their own business? So you got a lot of experience and maybe what you learned, or based on your career, what would you recommend to people?
Yeah. I think there's a lot of bad advice out there. So the thing that I would say is you have to know yourself first and foremost. And that was something I didn't know, right? So I didn't really know myself back then. What I knew is that I had this special friend that was the computer. And, nowadays I think people can learn anything they want on YouTube. They could vibe code whatever they want if they use ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or whatever it is. AI has completely changed everything. But back then, like if you asked me my advice 20 years ago, I would say find something that you don't hate doing every single day, because no matter what you do, it could be the thing you love the most, but it will become work. And there is no such thing as 100% loving what you do every day. Like growth is suffering, suffering is growth. And whether you want to be a musician or a basketball player or an entrepreneur like I am, all of them come with sacrifices. All of them come with suffering. There's no easy way to go from, zero to billionaire without the suffering. So I think what you have to figure out is, what is going to fit for you. Today is very different because I think today we all have access to these little robots in our pockets. And these little robots in our pockets, I think, open up tremendous possibilities. So if I was an entrepreneur today, I think that I could do everything I've done in 20 years. I could probably do it in like half the time because of what's possible with AI. I used to have to hire a team of 15 people to do what I can vibe code myself in a terminal in an hour now. And I'm not exaggerating. I'm happy to show you or the audience in a follow-up, but that's what I would say to that answer is like, just find the thing that you are going to have more good days than bad days, and just lean into that and make your own destiny. Whether that means working for somebody else or starting your own thing, everything is in life comes with trade-offs. So you just have to figure out what trade-offs work for you. And that's the advice that I would give that I think I can still follow to this day.
I like it. And one concept that stayed with me that I also read on your website is actually to find your own ikigai,
Yeah, definitely.
and something that makes you excited or gives you like a motivation to obviously wake up in the morning. Because whether it's building your business, career, showing up on LinkedIn, it's not sunshine and rainbows every day. Sometimes you feel like it, sometimes not. So I'm glad to hear it from someone with such experience
Yeah,
like
it's
you.
hard. I mean, I think the reality is no matter who you follow, whatever the creator is that you want to tune into, it is not easy showing up every day and doing the reps. The difference between the people that you admire most and where you are at today in your life, the gap between that is that they did the work and you haven't done it yet. So that's the only reason that they're there where you are. It's often not because of their talent or their God given abilities, right? A lot of times it just comes down to they put more reps in than you. You know, when someone's like, "Oh, I want to be like Alex Ramosi," it's like, well, Alex Ramosi works 90 hours a week. You know, it's like one of those things where he earned every single thing he's done, and people see him now. But I remember when he was posting awkward YouTube videos, getting 3 views. You know, and nobody knew who he was. He was just this bro. So yeah, that's what I would say.
I like it, and I agree, and it's a good example because people see successful, I don't know, creators, people out there, and feels like it happened overnight, but no one remembers or no one sees those days when you're showing up and there was no one supporting you, no one cheering for you. So remember that even those that are way ahead of you, they also had to start